you like paranormal, true crime, and some cryptids, or just anything weird, check out Ouch, Was That a Ghost? Brought to you by your host, Liz. You can find Ouch, Was That a Ghost on Spotify, Apple, or any audio platform. New episodes drop every Thursday.
This podcast is hosted by RPP.
If you are easily spooked, creeped, or offended, this might not be the podcast for you.
Welcome to I Think My Fridge is Haunted. We just talked for 20 minutes without pressing record.
Have we not learnt?
No, clearly not. This is why we always have to have supervision. Either Rose or Chris has to be here.
We need someone in here. And the worst part is like I can see that record button right here. I can see it. And I was just like, blah, 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 blah. Nah, talking about whatever. Yeah, so
What did you miss? This is what you missed.
Blah, blah, Chapel Roan.
We talked about Chapel Roan for a long time.
Chapel Roan.
Charlie XCX,
Obsessed with her.
Last podcast on the left. You went to see them live.
Awesome.
We had to ask other people that saw Last Podcast on the Left in different cities, did they talk about the Vatican or did they talk about something else? Because we want to know, do they just take the same story everywhere?
Yeah, we want to know, like, are they off book? How do they do this? Because we want to do it one day and I'm blown away. Anyway, that's hilarious.
Wow, we just brain vomited all over our listeners.
Maybe we saved them from something. We'll just do it as a little bonus. You can have a little conversation of just us.
And it'll have crappy audio. But if you're interested, it'll be there. Hello, welcome to I Think My Fridge is Haunted.
Welcome.
I'm Gemma. Oh my God. We can't do anything.
Stop it. My name's Lana.
And I'm Gemma.
And this is Gemma. And this is the last episode of this season. If you can't tell, we need a rest.
Did anyone notice there were 14 episodes in this season? There's usually 13.
There is usually 13. Even I
You're welcome.
Didn't believe my own co-host and producer and was like, no, you're wrong.
No.
And went to check it. And in fact, yes, there is 14 episodes this season. We got a lot to talk about. We've got, obviously.
So much to talk about.
One thing we did mention, just that we should mention in the episode, is that we have over 1,000 followers on Instagram now.
Yes, finally.
Hooray. Thank you, everyone, very much. As of today, we have 1,009 followers on Instagram, which means if you all go to YouTube and follow our YouTube page at I Think My Fridge is Haunted, we can do some new content. We can do some like fun things. YouTube opens up to us once we have 1,000 followers, which
apparently magic things happen.
Magic things, monetization apparently. So that's it. But it means we can do more for you. So send us a message, send us an email. I'll run through the whole thing again at the end. But if you have something you want to see us do, if you want to see us talk about certain things, if you want to see us like do Reddit stories or sleep stories has been a highly requested one.
Do the ray gun jump.
We can do the ray gun dance. The hop. I can do that. Absolutely. If you want to see us do TikTok dances, let us know. And we can do lots of new things. It'd be fun to do some content some things in between seasons, because this season's been a hell of a journey. I can't believe it's halfway through August and we started this in March April.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, this went for ages.
I know. There's been a lot going on this year. Like as you can all probably tell, we're not even hitting record. We're tired. It's been a lot.
You know, it's been a while since we had an update about the mushroom murders.
I was thinking about her like 2 days ago. What's going on? I gotta know.
And we also heard this week that apparently in the Samantha Murphy case, the trial is going to be delayed because they have so much evidence.
Was it unprecedented levels of evidence? Which
That's
is
wild.
wild, insane.
And do you know what is really impressing me? How they have kept everything under wraps.
They've done a really good job to keep
Unlike
this one
Erin
tight.
Patterson.
Well, I suppose it's a bonus is like the accused.
Let's write a very long email to Channel 9.
Yes.
And let's CC in Channel 10 and ABC as well.
It's BCC in all the channels.
Yeah, BCC. You know what, Sky News, you can come too.
Pop on over. Yeah, the benefit with Samantha Murphy's is he's already in jail. So very exciting. So yeah, I don't know. We're gonna definitely do like a I would say an autumn wrap up, but I think we have to do like a winter and an like autumn wrap up. There has been so much going on.
A lot of things have happened in the news.
Yeah, so I
Right.
think we'll do the update again, which will be fun. I'll say fun. But yeah, for now, this is the end of season 7. Our pilgrimage has come to an end.
Yes. Good Lord.
I feel like off kilt now that we had such good conversations going, and now I have to restart.
Guys, we were on fire.
We're on fire. We're dancing. We're having a good time. Why don't we get into some facts? How about that?
I didn't bring a fact.
You didn't bring a fact.
No, because I thought we were just going to jump in.
We're going to jump in it. Can
You bring a fact.
Facts from the freezer. Facts from the freezer.
I've got a fact. I actually have an organic off the dome fact for you. For my my birthday, my beautiful partner and I went to the Pharaoh exhibition, which is happening at NGV right now.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in ancient Egypt,
Which I so am.
it is stunning. It is absolutely one of the most beautiful exhibitions I've ever been to, because it's not just the items on display. They have designed it so it's like going from night to day and through the whole cycle, the sun cycle, which is very, very important to ancient Egyptians. But I learned, so literally in the first room, you know how a lot of statues in Egypt and what we have left of statues don't have noses?
Yes.
Which you assume is like, you know, if something falls, it's probably that's a smaller part that's going to fall off. I actually found out that when the Romans took over Egypt, which was around 30 BC, the whole timeline is insane, by the way, all the different dynasties, it was huge. But when Rome took over Egypt, it was actually a sign of disrespect to cut off the noses off the Egyptian statues.
So that's what they did.
So they cut the noses off heaps and heaps of like pharaohs and high standing people that have statues, and chopped all the noses off them. That's why so many statues, like ancient Egyptian statues, don't have noses, because it was actually the bloody Romans.
Wow.
Yeah, I found that fascinating.
Wankers.
I know, so rude.
I just remembered I do have a fact.
Oh, cool. I love it.
That my friend told me at work this week, and she's one of the baristas at my work.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Trish. And I said, she was making like me a coffee or something like that, and she goes, "Oh, that's got a good foam on it," and I was like, "That does have a good foam on it. That's great." And she goes, "Because cappuccino means something like coffee with a hat." I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, apparently the Italians, they put the foam on top to keep the coffee warm, because cappuccino means hat apparently.
Oh.
So it's like hat on coffee,
Hat on coffee.
and it keeps it warm."
That's so, I've never considered that's what it's doing. That's really cute.
I haven't confirmed this with Google, but that's what Trish the barista told me, and she's very good.
I was going to say Trish knows all. And it makes sense to me. That's a really smart way to do things. I love that. Hat on coffee.
It's like coffee chino. It's like hatachino. Hatachino.
Hatachino. Oh my God. Look at us with our organic facts. Who are we? All right.
All right, shall we jump right back into the witch trials?
Yes,
Part
I've
3.
been so excited.
Yeah, this is the sad one.
This is so we've had fun the last 2 episodes.
Kind of.
I'll say fun.
Yeah.
Oh.
We've been entertained.
We've been entertained, and I feel like we're about to get into the real shit now.
Yeah. Because, it's all well and good if someone's having a fit and screaming and pushing over tables and things like that, and you're like, ooh, in the time of no Netflix or theatre, this is something for my brain to focus on.
Yes, bit of entertainment.
Yeah, but when there's like people getting hanged and shit, you start to go, is it worth it?
Yeah. Am I really that entertained now?
Maybe I will just go back to milking the cows.
Maybe a simple life is good, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Especially when it's like your friends. And you go, oh, I didn't mean it, actually.
Do you know what I was thinking about yesterday? I was driving and I was thinking, do you remember when we did the Great Plague?
Yes.
It was 1665, 1666. And I said apparently the average age of people, like the lifespan, was about 64, 68, something like that.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, do you think it was even that much? You know what's interesting? 1692 in Salem and Massachusetts as a whole, the books that I have read, they reference a lot of very, very elderly people. I mean, talking people in their late 80s and 90s.
Whoa, okay.
So when we were like dubious about, do you think people would have
Yeah.
lived into their 60s in the 17th century? Apparently they did.
Apparently they did. That's, yeah, right. You just don't, I mean, I don't know, like fictionalized way you see lots of old people, obviously, but we're so often told that people didn't even live that long.
Yeah,
so
like 40 was a good run.
maybe like they're talking about like 60s as like retirement age. Maybe that was their retirement age as well. And then you just go like wither somewhere.
It probably depend on, you know, where you worked and how hard you had to work and probably the weather as well.
Yeah.
And whether there was a great pestilence in your lifetime.
Yeah, well, that is a big factor.
Helps not to have one of those.
I'll just pop one of those in. Yeah, that I suppose, and just being able to carry on your lineage in general is like, oh, I suppose you probably would have to live quite long, but maybe, I don't know. I'm just talking now.
Okay, so last week, do you remember that Dear Dad Lawson came to town and
Yes.
he gave this big 3-hour sermon?
Mate.
And basically he was like, if you know a witch, turn them in.
Yeah,
If your neighbour is a witch, tell us.
Yeah.
If your sister is a witch, she's got to go.
You should tell us. And we put the
turn upon your neighbour.
Yeah, as you should. Don't listen to the Bible where love thy neighbor. No. And we put up a photo of his sermon, his book,
Right.
which was like
It was
intense.
it was widely distributed after he made that sermon. That was the sermon that really kind of like, you know, that was his brat era.
that was his brat era.
That was his brat summer.
I love associating the Mean Girls, Charlie XCX Mean Girls, with the girls in this story. I thought it was just too
She
accurate.
comes up again. Don't even worry about it.
Great. All right.
So, Dear Dad Lawson, he does this epic speech, and then the following week, Mr. Paris is like, yep, everything he said was right. We've got to exorcise these demons from our community. And then Goody Nurse's sister, Goody Cloyes, she stands up, she storms out of the meeting house
That's
and
right.
she slams the door.
Yeah. The drama.
And then is sent to prison herself because
She
that's
slammed
where
the door.
we're at.
Because she slammed the door. How dare she?
So along with Goody Cloyes was accused another lady named Elizabeth Proctor. Now, her husband, John Proctor, had discredited the afflicted girls as liars and pretenders. And he was a big, like, he was in episode 1, actually. Do you remember? John Proctor was like, give them a good whipping.
Oh, yeah. Just sort them out, would you? These
Yeah.
bratty girls.
Yeah. So this whole time he's always been kind of like, I think this is fake.
Yeah.
Like, is no one else seeing this?
I'm going to debunk this, actually.
Yeah. And he actually had a servant girl that was one of the afflicted. Her name was Mary Warren.
Yes, Mary Warren.
So, and he often told other men in the village that he would administer beatings to her to try to get her to stop claiming herself bewitched. And he actually, he also warned her. He said something like, if your fits end you in water or fire, I will not save you.
Oh, damn. Okay.
So you remember like Abigail Williams threw herself into the fireplace?
Yep.
Or, you know, if she, I don't know, has a fit next to like a river or something and falls in. He's like, That's your
Off
own
you go.
fault. That's on you.
Yeah, that's on you, girl.
Oh, my friend messaged me this morning from England. She's a big fan, and she said you're beautiful.
Oh, thanks, Sam. Thank you. That's very kind.
So, at Goody Proctor's examination, that's Elizabeth Proctor, John's wife,
Okay, yes.
and Mary Warren's employer, I suppose you would say.
Yes.
Now, at her examination, Mary Warren, her servant, was oddly quiet. So you know how normally people go in there, have their examination, they say, which demon do you employ to harm these girls?
Yeah, did you sign the book?
And they're all ah, and they're freaking out and rolling on the floor.
Fighting each other, yeah.
She's like,
I don't know.
I'm just going to lay low today. Conveniently not bewitched.
Yeah. Sorry, it's only like Tuesdays and Thursdays, actually.
Yeah. So John Proctor himself would find himself behind bars soon enough as well.
Okay. Was it for beating girls? Probably
I
not.
think it was more just because he discredited the entire thing.
Right.
And discrediting the afflicted meant that you were also discrediting the magistrates.
Yeah, I was going to say
So
disrespect.
it's getting political.
Right. It often does, doesn't it?
So what's the easiest thing to do? Chuck him in prison.
Yeah, just get rid of him.
Silence him.
Yeah.
So John Indian, do you remember John Indian from episode 1?
Yes.
He was the enslaved man that lived in the Paris household with Minister Samuel Paris.
Yes, that's right.
Now, he is thought to be the husband or companion of Tituba.
Ah, yes, right. I see.
Now, he took it on himself to become something of a village tour guide.
Oh. For who? Who's visiting?
People were visiting. Tourists were coming.
Right. Oh, of course, because the word's getting out.
The word's getting out.
Want to see the afflicted.
Deodat Lawson's massive sermon has been distributed everywhere.
Right.
And he's like, oh, welcome to Salem Village. Let me show you all the sights of the afflicted. This is Mary Warren's house. This is Ann Putnam's house.
He's got map of the stars homes.
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
And here's
It's
Mary
like
Warren.
lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Yeah. Oh.
Lifestyles of the damned and afflicted.
Yeah.
So after Tituba was arrested, he did the smart thing and he joined the afflicted.
Of course.
As well. So he's afflicted and a tour guide.
An afflicted tour guide.
So busy.
Busy.
And he was the first to testify against Goody Cloyes. Now that's Rebecca Nurse's sister.
Yes.
As well as Goody Proctor, Elizabeth Proctor. Claiming that they had both tormented him. Abigail Williams and Ann Putnam both agreed that this was true.
Of course. Of course.
Furthermore, it was claimed that they attended demonic gatherings with some 40 other witches in the field of none other than Samuel Paris,
Ah.
the minister himself.
That's a smart move to turn on him. Be like, you, actually.
We've been gathering in your field this whole time. Did you not even see?
So we're going to talk about this? We're not talking about this?
So the two women, this is Goody Cloyes and Goody Proctor,
Yes.
apparently would serve red wine and red bread,
Oh.
said to represent the blood of their enemies
Of course.
during these gatherings. Hostess with the mostess.
Honestly, how are they getting red bread in this day and age? I want. What?
I think it's blood. I think it's meant to be blood.
Yeah, right, of course, of course.
Killing children.
The innocent.
Exactly. The afflicted claimed that there was someone else at these meetings, someone who struck fear into all the witches' hearts, but he was only described as a white man.
Oh. Well, it's better than other Men in Black.
There's the black man from Boston.
Black man from Boston, and now mystery white man.
They always sort of start with this. It's very much like psychics are like, I'm getting an R, I'm getting an M.
Vague image.
Someone's dad, and he really liked beer. And everyone's like, oh my God.
It's my dad. Yeah. Oh my God, you're right.
They're always like, there was 40 witches and a white man, and they all cowered when they saw him, but we don't know who he is just yet.
We're not 100%.
And the reason for that is it could be anyone here. So the next person to put a foot wrong might be named.
Yeah, someone's auditioning and they
Watch
don't know
yourself.
it. Yeah. These like 13-year-old girls like, watch it, buddy. Like,
I see you.
I see you for what you are. Okay.
So there's 40 witches. They're convening in a field. They're drinking red wine and red bread.
Hello.
And then a white man rocks up and they're all like, ah,
No.
he's here.
The man. It is Jack Nicholson from Witches of Eastwick.
The white man, it turns out, is none other than the previous minister of Salem Village, and his name is George Burroughs.
George Burroughs.
Having left the village in poverty after the people turned on him and refusing to pay his wage, the minister was forced to leave, making way for Samuel Parris. He actually had quite a sad story. I really think that the people were quite horrible to him. I don't think he was a bad guy.
Yeah,
I really
right.
don't.
Yeah, okay. So why did they push him out?
I feel like in Salem Village and in the surrounding villages as well, ministers kind of got passed around because the people, I don't know what it was, but they often just like either didn't agree with them or they didn't like something about them or the minister demanded too much money, and there's just something about, there was always a problem with the minister.
It sounds like almost like, as you said before, like a political position. Like if you don't like your mayor, you kick him out. Like, and I imagine the minister is quite that kind of position within these villages.
Very much so.
Right. So they just were like, don't like you, bye.
But at one point, and we like George Burroughs.
Okay.
At one point of his term as minister, his wife died and he was left no money to give her a funeral because the people wouldn't pay him.
What?
They were like, well, we don't want you here anyway, so just leave.
Yeah.
And he had to leave with all these debts, and he owed a bunch of, like, you know, the butcher and the, you know,
the baker, the candlestick maker.
Yeah, the people that give you coal to keep warm, and
you just had
all
to
those, you know, he had all these bills to pay, and he had to leave.
Damn.
So George Burroughs is accused and arrested for being the white man.
Oh, okay. So easy out, I see.
Easy out. The afflicted claim that he is not just a witch, but he is also the black man from Boston.
Oh, shit. Wait, what?
The black man from Boston is actually the white man.
Oh,
And he's now appearing as the white man, and he is the ringleader of all the Salem witches.
that's right. He's gathering them. He's bringing them together.
Yeah, so he's like, if witches are the worst of the worst, he's like worse than worse.
He's one under the devil. How dare he?
right.
Far out.
So around this time, Mary Warren, the servant girl to Elizabeth and John Proctor,
Okay.
and one of the afflicted, the girl that gets whipped, does something that no one has done before. After being noticeably quiet during the examination of Elizabeth Proctor, possibly due to the beatings that she would get from Goodman Proctor if she did anything to incriminate his wife,
Fair.
it would be an awkward dinner time later.
Yeah.
How was your day?
Did you have fun at the town meeting? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fun. It was really fun incriminating your wife. Mary writes a letter to the church asking for thanksgiving and claiming that she and the other afflicted girls had been lying and had made the whole thing up.
Whoa. So she just comes out and says it. Damn. Okay. She's sick of it.
And it's a scandal.
Oh, okay.
Obviously.
Scandalo.
But by claiming that they had all acted falsely and that all of the accused were innocent, what she's saying is there's no witches. They're all, you have to set these people free.
Yeah.
The village by this time was so far descended into madness,
Yeah.
they didn't believe her.
Of course they didn't. Like, it's too far gone now.
Too far gone.
How can they undo all these actions? Well, they could do it quite easily, but
It's
obviously
like Alicent going to Rhaenyra and saying we have to stop the war. And Rhaenyra's like, it's too far gone, you idiot.
you did this. You have to finish
This
it.
is
You
your
can't just
fault.
run off and just go get in a river. It's rude. Alicent. Sorry, how's the dragon moment?
It's not in the book, all that stuff.
Oh.
But I like it.
I like it too. I like the contrast
Yeah.
between them two, but also like, Alison, shut up.
Yeah. I just shut up.
It's too late.
The afflicted, of course, turn on her immediately, claiming witchcraft.
Of course.
Mary realizes that she's gone too deep to come out, and she recants her claims, saying that she is sorry and that she had in fact signed the devil's book.
Oh, no. Oh, this poor girl just like wants to stop being beaten.
But don't forget, people that admit to being witches are usually never executed.
Right.
So, satisfied with this explanation, the rest of the afflicted, instead of condemning her to prison, welcome her back to their ranks.
Oh, okay.
They're like, "Oh, that's cool," and you had a moment.
You just had a bit of a moment. It's okay.
You're okay. Just fix that crown and come on back to the afflicted.
Yep.
So she presumably continues from here on to have pretend fits for the remainder of the witch trials in order to ensure her own safety.
Yeah. I mean, you got to. Like, it's kind of one evil the other, isn't it?
She's like, so afflicted.
Showing half-assed on the floor, like, ow.
The afflicted kind of go on tour. So...
What? All the girls in a cage and they're like, the great afflicted.
It's kind of like do you remember the flagellants going on tour
Yes.
during the plague? Like splashing their infected blood everywhere.
Yeah, it was cute.
On tour. So the afflicted are invited to a neighbouring town of Andover, as the people there have requested that they come to point out their witches.
Oh, yes.
We think we have witches as well. Can you guys just come over and just let us know who they are?
Yeah, can you just point it out? That'd be real handy for us.
It's the Smiths and the Johnsons. On arrival, the girls point out so many people that after 40 arrests, the jailer refuses to log any more names. He, of course, is arrested himself.
This is a joke. Like, what?
It's actually
He
ridiculous.
just didn't want to do any more paperwork today.
Didn't want
He's
to do
done
it. And there's nowhere in the flippin' jail.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's like sardines against each other. Like, I don't do anything. What did you do? Like, it's ridiculous. 40 people.
Meanwhile, Sarah Osborne, the second woman to be examined in Salem Village, dies in prison in approximately May of 1692, 3 months after the afflicted began having their fits.
She's been there for 3 months. Come on.
Yeah, and she said she was ill when she went in there.
When she went in.
Sarah Good, the first lady that was examined,
Yes.
who had gone to prison with Osborne, had taken with her her young baby, born just a few months earlier.
No.
The baby did not survive the horrendous conditions and died soon after their imprisonment. It's really, really sad. So, there's our first couple of
Deaths, I
Deaths
suppose.
because of
Our
this.
casualties.
But Sarah was soon to be joined by another of her children. So Dorothy Good, a lot of times back then, Dorothy, they were known as Dorcas. That was like the short for Dorothy was Dorcas.
That's so weird. It's the same syllables, isn't it? Like, no, it isn't.
There's one less.
There's one less. Dorcas.
So Dorcas was examined in the meeting house soon after her mother, of course, with the afflicted throwing themselves into fits at her treachery, claiming that she was sticking pins into them using her spectral being. After being charged and sent to prison, she was kept chained to a wall, sometimes with a group of others and sometimes just on her own.
How old is she?
Well, this is it. She's 4.
Oh, come on.
She's 4 years old.
Chained a 4-year-old to the wall. Are you joking?
This is probably one of the saddest cases because 4 years old, you're at a pivotal learning point.
Yeah, your brain is turning on. Like, you're
psychologically you're developing.
Yes, and that's the first thing you learn. Like, that's the first thing you experience.
Well, sometimes she's in a cell that's so small she's not even able to lay down. So basically they're putting into her like a cupboard.
Sorry, poor Dorcas.
Some Google searches will inform you that Dorcas was the youngest person killed in the Salem Witch Trials. This is untrue.
Well, we just had a baby.
Records show, well, exactly, but I mean, officially
Accused.
executed, I mean.
Yes, right.
Records show that although Dorcas Good was certainly held in prison under ghastly conditions for an extended period of time, she was not executed with the other accused. However, after many months of being chained in a prison cell, and also, we say prison, witches were so low that they would put them in the dungeons of the prison.
Yes, the photo we post on Instagram of the jail or where the witches were held was a basement.
Yeah.
I assume a basement.
So your regular murderers and rapists went in, the
They get
nice
fresh
prison cell with
Yeah.
like maybe even like a bed,
Yeah, maybe some straw.
maybe some straw. They get the dungeons.
Yeah.
Sometimes these dungeons are so damp that water runs down the walls.
Oh, God.
There's rats everywhere.
Yeah.
And there was one, I think it's the prison in Salem town. It's next to a river. And so when the river rises, all the water would come in
To the cells.
and completely flood the cell.
But she's so little. She's 4. Oh,
And they've got there's no beds, there's nothing.
Nothing.
There's absolutely nothing.
God. I'm sure they barely get food as well.
Yeah. Well, I did read like a lot of times, it was kind of like Chappelle in Bali. Like family had to bring them stuff.
Right, I see. Which I'm sure is scarce at the best.
After many months of being chained in a prison cell, often alone with no source of stimulation, Dorcas Good grew up unable to function in society, going mad from her trauma and presumably stunted in her psychological cognitive growth. So we hear about like children living in the woods with dogs or wolves and they come out of it because it's such a crucial point in their development. They can't communicate with people. It could be a similar position. It could be a similar situation here.
Yeah.
Where she's just, where she's supposed to be learning and she's supposed to be
Stimulated and
not even going to school, just walking in the woods or talking to people.
Yes,
And, just
socialising.
Just socializing.
yeah, something, learning right from wrong, like,
Yeah.
and this is what
she
she's being
hasn't had
taught.
that.
Yeah.
So her father had to employ a nurse to care for her in later years. The afflicted had no empathy for the condemned. In fact, their in-court spectacles only got more elaborate.
Oh, of course. I'm sure people are loving the entertainment, and that's probably more of the focus than actually.
It's better than theatre.
Yeah.
We've said before, since the dawn of time, people have loved executions and
Drama.
trials and drama, and they love seeing other people going through it.
Yes. Yeah. They like to see it, don't want to be involved.
Yeah, yeah. There were now so many afflicted that they couldn't all fit in the courthouses.
Yeah.
So they would wait outside and they would have fits outside when they heard the girls inside having fits.
Oh, I see. So
I say girls. There were a couple of guys as well,
Yeah.
but they're mostly chicks.
Yeah.
At one of the trial hearings, Rebecca Nurse's daughter, Sarah, sees one of the afflicted women produce pins from within her dress and proclaim that Rebecca Nurse had caused pins to materialise under her skin. And they also did that with Dorcas as well. So they were hiding pins like in the fabric somewhere and then going, oh, look what she did. It came from nowhere.
Yeah. I pulled it out from nowhere. It's on my skin. Like, ugh.
Yeah. Astonishingly, on occasion, the afflicted were caught out on their tricks. At one examination, one of the afflicted girls pulled the tip of a broken knife from her bodice,
Whoa.
claiming that the accused on the stand had tried to stab her. A man in the crowd stood up and said, "Hang on a minute, I've got a broken knife. It broke yesterday. and I disposed of it. When he produced the handle, the tip matched the broken knife.
Right. So he didn't get thrown in jail? I suppose it's like solid evidence that you can't really refute.
The girl was simply told to stop lying, and the examination went on.
Yep.
So, that one didn't work.
Nice try, witch.
No mercy was given to the accused in or outside examinations. Susanna Martin, one of the accused, it was observed by the surgeon in charge of bodily searches to find witches' teats.
Oh. Yep. Were they shocked to find 2 normal ones? Like, what is going on?
They were just really clutching at straws at this point.
Honestly.
According to Francis Hill's book, he said that Susanna Martin, one morning, her breasts were very full, but hours later were all lank and pendant, insinuating that Susanna had fed her familiars sometime during the day.
Yep, that's how women work.
Even the most elderly women were subject to extreme bodily searches, especially around the genital area.
Of course.
I mean, they were looking freaking everywhere.
That's like, that alone is so traumatic. Like, I bet they weren't having fun when that happened. Like, they were going, no, I don't want to be a part of this anymore.
Yeah. Apparently they were loving it though. Those examiners, they were determined to find something. Further accused people joined Susanna and the others in prison. Among them were Abigail Hobbs, a girl who oddly liked to spend a great deal of time in the woods and freely admitted to being a witch, even accusing her own father.
Okay.
Bridget Bishop was another of the accused, thought to be one of the more despised of the Salem witches. Inside a wall in her home had been found a collection of rag dolls, which they called poppets.
Oh, okay.
With pins sticking out of them.
Okay, poppets.
So like a voodoo doll.
Yeah.
Thing. So it was presumed that Goody Bishop had been casting spells on villagers using the poppets. And of course, neither of these women had wealth or influence to recommend them for reprieve.
Oh, okay.
Like Elizabeth Corrie did.
Yes.
By this time, the trials had been moved to Salem town with a larger group of magistrates in attendance. 2 notable men who allowed these trials to go ahead and also really encouraged the trials were 2 men called Increase Mather and his son Cotton Mather.
Oh, that's very strange names.
Very strange names. So they were of such devout backgrounds that their families followed the trend of naming their children with words such as increase. Francis Hill says in A Delusion of Satan, in those days there was a vogue for giving children bizarre-sounding names with religious or political significance. One family's 5 children were dubbed True Grace, Reform, Hoped For, More Mercy, and Restore.
Oh, interesting names. You'd hate to be reformed. Hey, reformed, get over here. Reformed.
Another family's 3 were Return, Believe, and Tremble.
Oh, Tremble. Tremble's fun. I can get behind Tremble.
Increase Mather, born 4 years after his father's arrival in the colony, was so called because, I don't really understand this, but was so called because of the never-to-be-forgotten increase of every sort wherewith God had favoured the country about the time of his nativity. So I suppose it's an increase in the faithful.
Yes, I imagine so.
I think.
Strange name to choose, though, still. Like,
Cotton was just named after his grandfather, though.
It's our beautiful children and Cotton.
So Cotton Mather, the younger, he writes like 400 books on the supernatural and witchcraft.
Whoa.
I mean, he's like a really prolific author.
Wow.
But you know, the thing being though, like, you know, he's he's very noisy. He doesn't like witches. He doesn't like, obviously, any of that supernatural stuff, and he's very noisy about it.
Well, 400 books is a decent amount to yell about.
Yeah, and one of his most famous cases that he worked on was these Goodwin children in 1688. So this is 4 years before the Salem Witch Trials.
Oh, okay.
This family, they had 4 children, the Goodwins, and they would fall into these fits and say that they were bewitched.
Right.
And it was Cotton Mather's job to sort of almost exorcise them.
Okay.
Which he apparently spent like months doing. And he was sort of the one that was, able to...
At the forefront.
Bring them out of it.
Oh, okay. So he's the trusted one to help.
Yeah. And
like that.
Frances Hill, in her book, A Delusion of Satan, she pretty much says that the Goodwin children were an example of mass hysteria due to their boring lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're so bored.
There's nothing to do, of course.
Let's go mad.
Let's go. Do you think just like go mad for a little bit?
But isn't that interesting, though, that there was a precedent for these fits and bewitched fits?
I was kind of wondering like where that came from. Like obviously being affected by the witches, it's, pretty easy for kids to do. But the fact that already it's a known thing that this is what happens.
And you know what? It's probably got a notoriety as well. Like you'll end up like those Goodwin children. If you converse with the devil.
Yeah. It was like a, what's the word? Like a superstition.
Like a threat.
Yeah. It was used as a threat. It's like the coal in the stocking. Like it's just, and it could have been one of those things how they just keep rolling on. Word of mouth. Like it just keeps spreading to people, and then what's fact and what's fiction.
Yeah, local lore is really getting, and it's the closest thing that they had to a bedtime story.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, it's gonna stick with them.
Well, like not to sound like out myself silly, but like I only recently was like, shoes on the counter doesn't mean bad luck. I can put shoes on a table. It's okay. Like my superstition is still like when I was told when I was like, I don't know, 4 or 5, shoes on the table means bad luck. They can't touch the table. It's just telling kids to not put your bloody shoes on the counter.
Right.
Like it's that's all it is. But it's taking me like 15, 16 years for me to go, actually, it is okay. It's superstition is so powerful.
Yeah.
Especially when there's nothing else going on. Nothing else.
It's the only thing you've got.
And that's all you're being taught, and you're not seeing anyone else in a different type of lifestyle. I don't know, like we laugh, and I have laughed the last 2 episodes, but it's true. Like how do you tell a child what's real and what's not now? Yeah. Sorry, my little tangent.
No, that's
outing
fine.
myself.
That's absolutely fine. So let's get to the executions.
Okay, here we go.
So in July of 1692, the executions of 20 condemned witches began.
And this, quite often believed, burned at the stake. That is the vision we all see. It's not quite that.
Okay, so no one got burned in Salem.
Let's just from the very top. Yeah.
No one got burned in Salem. I believe that was more of a European thing, which I will do in a further season.
Yeah.
The Cologne witch trials were horrible.
Yep.
Pendle
Different.
witch trials.
That's right, Pendle.
I believe they burned them for the spectacle.
Yes. Yeah.
And because it's quite an ungodly way to go, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like it's a vision of hell.
Yes.
It is literally you're literally putting on a vision of screaming and pain and fire.
Yeah. Again, more of a learning lesson to people, I assume.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The reason why they often turned to hanging was because it's cheap.
Right.
Firewood is
you don't want to use it.
expensive.
That's true. I didn't consider that. Hey.
Yeah, so a lot of times they would turn to hanging instead of firewood because it's expensive, and the rate of people being accused and being convicted was so high that, why would they use all of this
Winter
firewood
supply,
and all of their winter supply on people that are going to die anyway?
Yeah, fair. I've never considered that. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll keep burning at the stake for another time.
Yeah. We'll get there. So, to add insult to their imprisonment, many of the witches were proclaimed to be excommunicated before they were killed.
All right.
This was shameful, and it meant certain damnation, according to Frances Hill, the author of A Delusion of Satan. In the days before her execution, Rebecca Nurse was granted a reprieve following a petition signed by 39 villagers.
Oh.
The petition read in part, "We never found any grounds to suspect her of any such thing as she is now accused of."
Okay.
So from a small village, 39 people, it's a fair amount.
So there are people going, actually, you know what? Maybe we don't need to, hang her.
People were really angry about Rebecca Nurse.
Interesting.
Yeah, because she was a matriarch of a very large family, and she was one of the most devout people known in the village.
Yeah. And if they're, hanging her, what does that mean for everyone else, really?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I suppose that's a positive. We'll take that.
That she got the reprieve.
That she got the reprieve, yes.
It is interesting to note that several of the signatories included in the petition were of wealthy standing, as well as being part of the anti-Putnam faction.
Oh, okay.
So remember Anne Putnam and her mother, Anne Putnam Sr., they're in
Yep.
the Afflicted. This refers to the inter-family feuding relating to land ownership and more petty grievances that had taken place over the past generation. There were many family disputes in the village, some going back decades and causing rifts that would prompt families to take sides. So being anti-Putnam meant that you were also anti-Samuel Parris.
Right.
And that means you were anti-witch trials.
Right. Okay.
And if you're anti-witch trials, you're probably consorting with the devil.
Yeah, obviously you've written your name in the book.
Right.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah. So one of the men who signed it was actually a Putnam. Jonathan Putnam had signed the original complaint against Rebecca Nurse, so much it must have changed his mind about her guilt along the way. So it was a serious petition.
Yeah.
The other people on the list who had neither wealth nor power had a lot to lose by signing the petition, perhaps even their own lives.
Yeah, well, especially seeing everything that's happened so far, it's pretty bold to put your name on paper and say, I support not what you support.
Right. Yeah. However, on hearing that Rebecca Nurse had been relieved of her accusations, the Afflicted went into their fits again and her execution was reinstated.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you remember, but at her examination, Anne Putnam Sr. had a very specific disdain of Rebecca Nurse. For some reason, we don't know why, she really hated her.
Right. So really out to get her.
Yeah. So between July and September, the hangings took place. The accused were loaded into wagons and brought to the place in Salem known as Gallows Hill or Witch's Hill, to the hanging tree. As they approached the hill, the Afflicted led onlookers, and they mocked and jeered the accused, and the Afflicted encouraged them to do so. So must have been really horrible.
Yeah.
In A Delusion of Satan, Frances Hill says, the executioner accompanied or carried the victim, and after the last words had been said, pulled the suspended noose toward him, lowered it over the prisoner's head, and pulled it tight around her neck. He then pushed her off the ladder to fall downwards and swing sideways. After that, he climbed down the ladder and removed it. Unless the prisoner managed to jump upward while being pushed to make the drop more violent so that her neck broke, she died by slow strangulation.
Yeah.
So it could take, 10, 15 minutes sometimes.
Yeah, that's one of the worst parts about hanging, isn't it? Is like it's not as quick as it seems.
Unless it's a long hanging.
And an actual drop to give them, as you said, breaking their neck, which is what a horrible decision to have to make in your last moments alive. Going,
do I jump?
Do I make it easier on myself, or do I, see this out? Like, see how it happens. Yeah.
So one of the first accused to be hanged was Sarah Good. We remember her to be the first woman to be examined and who mumbled at Samuel Parris, and also the mother of Dorcas Good.
Oh, that's right.
She is called out to confess by Nicholas Noyes, a highly regarded villager as far as wealth goes, but a bit of a wanker in reality.
Yeah.
He was like a poet and he was very self-righteous.
Sounds like a Harry Potter character.
It was just like
Nicholas
freaking
Nice.
hipster.
Noise. Yeah. Salem hipster.
Yeah.
Actually, it's natural grain fed. Organic. And they're like, what's organic? Witch.
Idiot. Everything's organic here. We're Puritans. Okay, so he yelled out. And also he was a close friend of the magistrates as well. So he's basically like, he's pro-witch trials. You know, he's up there with the Mathers and the Afflicted and the Putnams and he's a dickhead.
He's the offsider.
Yeah, he's not helping.
Yeah.
A close friend of the magistrates, he would yell, she is a witch. She knows she is a witch. And this is at Sarah Good.
Yeah. She's like,
No. Sarah Good responds, you are a liar. I am no more a witch than you are a wizard. And if you take away my life, God will give you blood to drink.
oh, damn. That's some like finishing words. Love it.
Well, interestingly, Sarah Good not only is able to say the word God, as witches are said to avoid or are altogether unable to say the word,
Okay.
but her curse came true some years later.
Oh, cool.
When Nicholas Noyes died from an internal hemorrhage and was seen in his last moments to be bleeding from the mouth.
That's kind of awesome. Like, it doesn't help her legacy, but that's kind of awesome.
Almost like a real witch.
Yeah, I was like,
If I'm going to go, I may as well curse you while I'm at it.
why not? Make some drama. Like, why not? If you're really going to go through this, you're going to think I'm a witch, then fine. Curse you. A curse on your house.
And like when I was saying about how if they couldn't say the word God, back in the examinations, if the accused could not recite the Lord's Prayer perfectly in front of the courtroom, this was credible evidence of one's being a witch. And I mean, a lot of people don't like talking in public. Public speaking.
Just thinking that, like,
So, like, of course you're gonna mess it up.
yeah, God forbid, like a room full of people wanting to kill you, and you have to.
There's 100 people in front of me. They all want me dead.
Yeah.
And I've got to recite this, like, 1 minute long prayer.
Yeah, and probably to people who have never done public speaking, probably. Anxiety was real back then, guys. Come on.
So when it comes time for George Burroughs to be executed, the man in white, the white man.
The previous magistrate.
He was the previous minister.
That's
Right. When it's time for his execution, he climbs the ladder and delivers a moving prayer to the crowd.
Aww.
Next, he recites the Lord's Prayer perfectly. As a result, turning judgment upon those who witnessed his execution with the line, "As we forgive those who trespass against us." Apparently, like, his execution made people kind of sort of think,
I'm starting to feel bad about this.
are we the baddies?
Am I the problem? Is it me? Am I the bad guy? Am I the villain?
Yes. It makes me,
you are.
Right?
Oh, yeah, good.
So this sobering event leads us to wonder if the turning point to soon come in the witch trials was due to the mirror that Burroughs turned upon the people of Salem moments before his death.
Like, I think so. Like, that's got to have an impact on people, right?
Yeah. After Rebecca Nurse and George Jacobs are hanged, he's another elderly accused. Mm-hmm. They are buried in shallow graves near the tree on Gallows Hill. It is said that some of the bodies were not even buried properly, with hands and feet still visible after they were covered with dirt.
That's rude.
There is evidence to suggest that before the accused were buried, their clothes were removed if they were of any value.
Right. So just take them for all they're worth. Mm-hmm. Great.
The families of Rebecca Nurse and George Jacobs come back after the executions to retrieve their bodies and rebury them at home.
Yeah, that's fair. Ugh.
On the tombstone of George Jacobs is a quote from him during his examination that reads, "Well, burn me or hang me, I will stand in the truth of Christ."
That's that's pretty bold. Imagine all of these people coming up. They've gathered. We're finally hanging the witches, and then one after another, it's just like, oh, I feel bad. Oh,
Yeah.
I feel worse now.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, the examinations were fun. This is not quite.
This isn't as fun now, guys.
It's not fun anymore.
I'd like to stop playing.
But you can't say anything.
Yeah, you
then you're
can't
a
say
witch.
anything, or else you're next. And they definitely couldn't back out of it, apparently. Like, you could have... you know what? Someone epic could have stood up there and be like, this is wrong. Let's not do this. And everyone goes, yeah, I feel better about that. Like, this could have ended so much nicer.
But one of the afflicted herself tried.
Exactly. That's true. Very true.
Anyway. So, awaiting his own execution, John Proctor,
Yes.
the one who liked to whip the accused, the afflicted, he writes a letter of protest to the 5 senior ministers of Boston. So also, we've really moved away from Salem Village.
Right.
Sometimes, like the examinations and the trials would take place at Salem, like Big Salem.
Yes. You did say that. So is it like Salem town within the province or like...
Yeah. So there's like Boston. Above that is Salem, and then on the outskirts of that is Salem Village.
Right.
It's now actually called Danvers. So Salem
okay.
Village is not there anymore. Salem is obviously still there, but Salem Village is now called Danvers.
Oh, okay. There you go. Shout out to Denver.
So John Proctor writes this letter of protest to the 5 senior ministers of Boston, which includes Increase Mather. He asks that they be given alternative magistrates for the trials with less prejudice than the ones they currently had been dealing with, and even that the trials be moved to Boston.
Okay.
So he's like, this isn't working, and it's not, we should have a fair trial.
Yeah.
Because the people that are in the trial, and they also have a jury now as well, but they're all involved in the politics.
Yeah.
There's a real conflict of interest.
There's not an unbiased opinion coming into
Exactly.
this.
And that's
Yes.
what John Proctor is trying to convince them of.
Clever of him to say, stop this, instead saying, well, why don't we just make it more fair?
Yeah,
Can we just
he's
do
not
that?
saying let me go.
Yeah.
He's just saying give me a fair trial.
Yeah, yep. And fair's fair.
Like, if you're not affected by, like, this craziness, like, you can go in there and go, they accused you of what?
What did you do? You said
Oh,
what?
nothing?
Oh, teenage girls are being teenage girls? Yeah, okay, no.
Yeah. So he also protests at the use of this thing called tying of neck and heel to promote confessions.
Oh.
So his own son had endured this and had even been held as such until his nose bled. I can't find any pictures of what tying neck and heel is. I'm not entirely sure what tying neck and heel is.
Is that not to do with the dunking? Is that to put in the river? Because
No, that didn't happen in Salem. I think that's European as well.
yeah,
Tying of neck and heel. It was because torture was not allowed in Salem, but tying of neck and heel was seen as an acceptable method of obtaining information.
interesting.
According to Stacey Schiff, Order of the Witches, Salem, 1692, a history. Because it was not it was frowned upon, but it was not considered barbaric.
Right.
But I can't find a picture of what tying neck and heel actually was. I've heard a lot of references to it.
Interesting.
John Proctor wrote in his letter of protest, "My son, William Proctor, when he was examined because he would not confess, that he was guilty when he was innocent, they tied him neck and heels until blood gushed out of his nose and would have kept him some 24 hours if one more merciful than the rest had taken pity on him and caused him to be unbound.
Interesting. I initially thought like to a chair, like were they tied like by neck and heel to a chair? But if his nose bled, were they hung upside down? Like I don't.
Is it almost like being hogtied?
Oh well, I'm just thinking because it's not hands, but they could be. The hands could be tied to the heel as well, or to your neck or something. Like it must be something like that.
If anyone knows. Now I know that Rudy has read this book. And is interested in the witch trials. Now, Rudy is from Rainbow History Class, right? Also another Melbourne-based podcast.
That is doing very well. Congratulations,
oh my God, they're doing so well.
Maybe we can get Rudy to come talk about this. Maybe they know. Rudy,
if you know what tying neck and heels is, could you just let us know? Reach out.
Slide into the DMs, please. I've already slid into yours. Come slide into ours.
I'm regularly...
in the DM. Interesting. Now the mind wanders.
I don't know. So sadly, John Proctor was hung nonetheless, even though he made these letters of protest and he made very good points.
Yeah.
His wife Elizabeth is excused from her execution on account of being pregnant.
Oh.
And luckily is later given a full reprieve.
Okay.
Goodman Giles Corey, husband of Martha Corey. Now, remember Martha Corey was about the fourth lady to be... she was the lady after Tituba.
Right,
and she
yes.
said, "You think I am a witch, but I am none."
Yes.
And then her husband was like, "Actually, the cat's been acting a bit weird."
I think the cat knows something.
Yeah, she's probably a witch.
Has he seen a cat before?
But anyway, so they were like, well, you're also a witch, clearly. Anyway, he's most offended at his being accused and retaliates in a way that the other accused had not. At his trial, when asked to give his plea of guilty or not guilty, he decides to say nothing.
Oh.
He is taken to a field and made to lie down while heavy stones were loaded onto his body until he was no longer able to breathe.
So we're not doing torture? Like what the hell is
this
that?
Is an execution.
Oh, okay. I was like, hang on, what?
Yeah.
That's the way he...
And even as this was happening, and it took hours.
Of course.
Legend says that his last words were, "More weight."
Oh my God. That's kind of badass.
Metal.
Yeah, that is metal as fuck.
Yeah, he was pissed.
Yeah, I would be too by that point.
Those who were set free were only able to leave if they paid exorbitant prison fees.
Classic.
They were charged rent for the squalid conditions they were kept under.
What?
And
what?
Some families literally went broke just having to pay these massive bills.
What the fuck?
And also, you couldn't get out of prison. They wouldn't let you leave until you paid your bills.
Oh, of course. Great.
So people were like, well, we've got to get Lana out of the freaking dungeon.
Yeah.
Because she's up to her freaking knees in water.
Mm-hmm. Just fighting 4-year-olds. It's all happening.
They would have to sell their farm.
Right.
Because if they've been in there for a year.
Yeah, you can imagine.
I mean, we're talking in, probably, $100,000.
Yeah, especially in that day and age when, what are they doing for money? What are they I suppose trade selling things? That's probably it.
Well, most of these people are farmers, essentially.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So after the executions, though witches are still accused and examined, very few are imprisoned and no more are sent to death at Gallows Hill.
Okay.
Interestingly, the concept of spectral evidence was now banned due to continued protests from respectable men such as Robert Califf, who was a businessman from Boston, and he was said to be a skilled writer and a wit. So he would actually write these pamphlets about the witch trials that would like make fun of the magistrates. Like they were actually like really scathing satires.
Oh my God.
He argued that spectral evidence was not admissible when heard from an afflicted person, and in that any case it was most likely to have been made up by the afflicted anyway.
Whoa. He's calling him out.
He's calling them out. He's like,
yeah.
why are you listening to these 13-year-old girls?
This is stupid.
He wrote pamphlets in part detailing the experience of Nathaniel and Elizabeth Carey,
Oh, okay.
who we heard about in episode 1.
Yes.
So he heard the story. They were like, oh, you're writing about the witch trials? Dude, we were in Salem Village. It was wild.
It
he's
was
like,
crazy.
he's like, take a seat. Tell me everything.
Have a cigarette. Like, let's go, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Drinks for everyone. So he took down their story and he was like, I want everyone to know about this.
Yeah, and good.
He started a podcast.
He's actually the first person to start a podcast ever.
No, Ezekiel Shiva was.
Oh, sorry, that's true.
It's the examination after show.
That's right.
I don't know where Ezekiel is now. He's just...
Samuel Pepys came in later.
Oh, love.
He thinks.
Love. He's the OG. OG of pamphlets.
I want to do an episode where we just talk about like people who could be podcasters
From history.
From history. Oh, that'd be so fun.
Yes.
That's my PowerPoint presentation slide.
So his writings were distributed around the whole colony. So basically like, you know, almost statewide.
Damn.
He often wrote the articles with such humour as to embarrass and enrage those supporting the witch trials, such as Cotton Mather.
Thanks, Cotton.
Mather. Just shut up, Cotton. And with little else to prove a witch's guilt except stories of the deaths of farm animals, coincidentally following visits from accused persons. They came to the farm for a cup of tea and then my pig died.
Yeah, it wasn't because it was giant and, you know, heart failure, but it's, you know.
Or the wheels of wagons falling off or spouses arguing in the street. All other evidence was merely hearsay. So they can't use spectral evidence anymore. So they can't say, hey, I've got a pin in my hand because Dorcas Good's ghost came and put a pin in my hand.
Yeah.
They're like, we're not accepting that anymore.
We're not going to take that. We're going to take only solid evidence.
We've had a think.
We've reflected. We've come back. It's kind of silly. A little bit silly.
So, you know, what are they left with? They're left with people saying, well, Lana came to my house and my horse died.
Yeah.
Or, you know, my crops failed.
Yeah.
And I saw Lana in April.
Yeah. And I think she doesn't like me very much, actually. So
Yeah.
her grandmother fought with my grandmother, so I think she's a witch.
Exactly. So that's all they've got now. All they've got is this dumb... Unless they're finding poppets in the walls,
Yeah.
they don't have a lot to go on.
Yeah.
So we're winding down.
Okay, we're taking it back now. We're taking
Yes.
a step. We're reflecting on our actions.
Right.
Not liking what we're seeing.
When Robert Califf has enraged the magistrates enough, he himself is accused as a witch.
Couldn't have seen that coming.
Mr. Califf responds to the accusation by suing the afflicted for slander and demands £1,000 in compensation.
We're coming into suing now.
His case was quickly dropped.
Yeah. That's all they had to do. That's
all they had to
Sue
do.
them.
Soon after,
That's
the
so
people
funny.
of a neighbouring town to Salem Village, after hearing their names among those of the accused, make their own slander claims.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
These cases too are eventually dropped after their accusations are redacted by the afflicted. So the afflicted are also having a think.
Yeah. Reflecting, looking back. I don't have $1,000. Fuck. What am I going to do? Don't worry about it.
Another anti-witch trial commentator was this legend called Thomas Brattle. So what I'm calling Brattle Summer.
Brattle Summer, yes.
And he also wrote about the injustice of the trials, arguing that they were not the way to conduct legal matters. It's like, this is bullshit. Is no one seeing this?
Yeah, this is a joke, guys.
On October the 8th, 1692, Brattle wrote a letter to a friend detailing the reasons why the witch trials were a load of nonsense. Brattle claimed that the witch trials were hypocritical of Puritan ideology and that the spectral evidence was invalid. Therefore, all convictions must be determined to also be invalid. It's like, wait.
Girl, you'll never believe what's happening in
You said
this
an
town.
invisible person put a pin in your hand, so you killed them.
Okay, cool. What?
Really?
Really, guys? I like that. I like that he's like, this is just not the way things are done, you idiots. What are you doing? Like, it's just ridiculous.
It's like, take a seat.
Yeah. I know you're bored, but sit down, okay?
Yeah, just sit down.
Stop killing everyone. We're not interested.
So for some reason, copies of this letter that he wrote were made and circulated around Boston, like one of Caliph's pamphlets. It is known to this day as one of the most reasonable protests upon the witch trials to date.
Oh, okay. So we've got a bit of knowledge going around now.
Yeah, a bit of knowledge.
Then it's stopping the hysteria.
Just a little bit of common freaking sense.
Yeah. Hard to come by.
The governor of Massachusetts, the governor of Massachusetts Bay, Sir William Phipps, actually read Brattle's letter and as such was convinced by Brattle's argument. This is why the use of spectral evidence was banned in court as a way of determining witches. So the Salem Witchcraft Court in Salem was ordered by Phipps to be dissolved within weeks of reading the letter.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of power.
Yes. If only John Proctor had been able to see the arguments that were so similar to his own were eventually being heard and acted upon. And this is like a month later after he died. A month.
Such a damn shame that all these people had to suffer and die, and
a month later, everyone's like, ooh, yeah.
Oh, you're right,
None of
actually. I needed someone else to show me common sense.
In 1693, the remaining witch trials took place at the Superior Court of Massachusetts.
Damn.
However, no further witches were found guilty. So Proctor essentially got his wish.
Wow.
They moved it to a larger court outside of Salem Village, away from the silliness.
And actually give them a decent chance.
The witch trials begin to subside. The afflicted girls begin to lose their power. On a visit to Andover, upon crossing a bridge and passing an old woman who was possibly collecting fees to cross the bridge, they fell into fits and convulsions, screaming that she was a witch while rolling around on the ground. The old lady stared at them in frustration, and passers-by, rather than gathering around and jeering, hurried away, leaving the girls to finally calm themselves and dust their skirts off, defeated.
How embarrassing.
It's like leaving a kid in a supermarket to just have your tantrum. You know what? You just
Go for it.
scream it out.
Yeah, go on. Just calm down. You'll be right. Get up. Idiots.
So what happened to the accusers of Salem Village? Many have been lost to history.
Okay.
So, for example, Abigail Williams, who threw herself into the fire, she was one of the main mean girls.
Yeah.
Don't know what happened to her.
Oh.
It is thought that Samuel Parris sold Tituba in order to pay her prison fees.
Oh. That's awful.
Parris himself, widowed 4 years after the witch trials, moved to a new village as minister, but sour relations over a pay dispute left him no choice but to leave and give up the ministry altogether.
Good.
So working overtime as a teacher, along with a few other trades, I think he worked in some sort of stocks, and he sold linen for a while. And he did a few different things.
Oh,
he bounced around.
Yes, how the mighty have fallen. Good.
Samuel Parris died in debt, leaving his children some assets to sell in order to settle them. To his death, he was unable to understand why he was held in such contempt by the residents of not only Salem Village, but the colony as a whole.
Damn.
He didn't get it.
I just didn't.
He's like, I was just trying to help you. Don't you see the help I gave?
People are bitter until the very end, aren't they?
Yeah. Deodat Lawson, the fire and brimstone preacher who told villagers to give up their witch neighbours, died destitute in England some years later, having to write to family and friends to send him food and money.
Damn, sucks to suck.
Magistrate Samuel Sewell, one of the men presiding over the trials at Salem Court and convicting many innocent people, issued a public apology for his part in the witch trials and famously held a day of penance every year following.
Whoa, okay. So at least someone's kind of being accountable.
Right. In 1697, members of the jury wrote a letter of apology claiming that they had made a mistake in convicting those executed and that they now no longer believed them to be a witch.
Great. After the fact.
So they said, we whose names are underwritten, being in the year 1692, called to serve as jurors in court in Salem on trial of many who were by some suspected guilty of doing acts of witchcraft upon the bodies of sundry persons. We justly fear that we were sadly deluded and mistaken, for which we are much disquieted and distressed in our minds, and do therefore humbly beg forgiveness, first of God for Christ's sake for this our error, and pray that God would not impute the guilt of it to ourselves nor others. We do heartily ask forgiveness of you all, whom we have justly offended.
Okay. Well, yeah. I suppose jurors are a different kind of kettle of fish, aren't they? Because
it depends who they were.
Yeah.
Like, if they're just literally, the magistrates are just putting their friends.
well, you kind of have to go with the flow of whatever they decide, I suppose. And you could be put in these prisoners' positions in minutes, like seconds. They can, I get it, but
there's that as well. It's
Yeah.
like, do as you're told. You're here to do a job. Convict these witches.
yeah, exactly. But I suppose it's nice that they apologised.
Yeah, it's something.
Especially when, being quite religious, believing in afterlife and things like that. Just hopefully, I suppose they were meaning well. I'll say.
Lastly, in 1706, so about 14 years later, Anne Putnam, the head mean girl and orchestrator of The Afflicted, issued a confession written with the help of Reverend Joseph Green, and he was the minister who took over from Samuel Parris.
Yes.
And he's been there for like 14 years, so he must have done well.
Yeah. It's a decent stint.
Yeah. She had the confession approved by Rebecca Nurse's son, Samuel, before it was read in public at the meeting house by Reverend Green, with Anne standing in front of the congregation.
Damn.
The confession read, I desire to be humbled before God, and for that sad and humbling providence that befell my father's family in the year about 92, that I, then being in my childhood, should, by such providence of God, be made an instrument for the accusing of several people for grievous crimes. It was more than several, but whatever.
Just more than a handful, girl.
Several. Whereby their lives were taken away from them, whom now I have just grounds and good reason to believe they were innocent persons, and then that it was a great delusion of Satan that deceived me in that sad time, whereby I justly fear I have been instrumental with others, though ignorantly and unwittingly, to bring upon myself and this land the guilt of innocent blood. Though what was said or done by me against any person, I truly and uprightly say before God and man, I did not do it out of anger, malice, or ill will to any person. Really?
Yeah, sure, girl.
You seemed pretty malicious to me.
Yeah.
For I had no such thing against one of them, but what I did was ignorantly being deluded by Satan.
Okay. Well, I don't know. It's definitely like a human nature thing, isn't it? Reflecting on what you've done, and bold of her to admit it, to stand in front of all of them and go, yeah, I fucked up. I was wrong.
I don't know, but I don't know. I feel like she did do it out of ill will.
Oh, for sure. Especially being 13. Hello. I I don't know. Maybe she's looking to forgive herself and she's like, maybe if I do this and everyone forgives me, then I'll feel better. But I bet she didn't feel better at all. I bet that happened.
Probably not.
And she went, oh, great, cool. Now I have to live with this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And like, lucky you. But interesting.
So Anne's mother and father both died within weeks of each other before the turn of the century. She was left to care for her 9 siblings and died in 1716, 10 years after her confession. She was buried alongside her parents in unmarked graves in the previously known place as Salem Village, now known as Danvers.
Unmarked.
Yeah.
Wow.
A Salem historian, Charles W. Upman, wrote, "She was undoubtedly sincere in her penitence and was forgiven, we trust and believe, but she failed to see the depths of her iniquity and of those who instigated and aided her in her false accusations.
Yeah.
The blame and deed were wholly hers and theirs. Satan had no share in it."
Oh, okay. Calling her out once again.
Yeah. Writing of her general health, I just thought this was interesting. He wrote, "It seems she was frequently the subject of sickness and her bodily powers much weakened. The probability is that the long-continued strain kept upon her muscular and nervous organisation during the witchcraft scenes had destroyed her constitution."
Oh, her constitution. But that is an interesting point. I mean, they were throwing themselves on the ground. They were pricking themselves. They were biting each other. Like,
There's a lot of sports injuries in there.
there's a lot of sports injuries in there.
Yeah.
How interesting. It's almost like karma really came around for all these people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was part 3 of the witch trials.
You did it. Yeah, that was awesome. Gemma, you did such a good job. Thank you so much.
And I know for those, like, if anyone's out there that's obsessed with the witch trials, the Salem Witch Trials, I know this is the Diet Coke version. I know. I'm aware.
I'm aware. But it was also still 3, 4, almost
It's a big
hours long.
story.
It's massive.
Huge. And there's a lot of names. There's a lot of people involved.
Yeah. I really like how
But
you
that's
told
your
her.
But short
Easily
documentary version.
Yeah.
Easily digestible.
Easily digestible. But I think it was great. I kept up the whole time, even in between all of our breaks. I think it was great. And I hope everyone else found it great because I think it was fascinating. I think you did a really good job.
Oh, thank you so much.
Do you feel like the weight lifting off again? Is it like Amityville all over again?
This whole thing has just been following me around. That's why I was like smudging the room earlier with like spray.
Yeah. What's been happening? Like just feelings like that heaviness and
I saw on the side of the road 2 days ago a broomstick.
oh stop it! What?
And do you remember I texted you? I said I just saw a car with the number plate was Bewitched.
Oh yes.
But it was like BWCHD
Number plate.
or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I was like,
Oh.
Ann Putnam is following me. Or maybe it's Sarah Good.
Maybe they just want like most of what happened is they want it told. They want people to hear what actually happened, how ridiculous this all was, really.
Yeah. And many of them were granted reprieve, posthumously. Some as recently as, I think, 1992.
What?
Yeah, so like every sort of 50 years, some of them would get a reprieve.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Lovely of them. I say what, but I'm also like, well, it wasn't that long ago. And again, things are happening all the time in history that get replaced and re-spoken about. And that is, yeah, I'm, I don't know how I feel about after all that. Like, it's just very
It's a lot, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Like, I'm very glad to hear that there were people going, this is ridiculous. What are we doing? Like, it was because, again, you never hear about those people calling it out. And it's nice that there were people at least trying to stand up for themselves, for each other, like trying to stop all of this madness. It's just, and again, it's actually such a compact kind of time. It's not as maybe long as we think it was, if you will.
I think start to finish, it was something like 14 months or something like that.
Yeah.
But the main part of it was like 6 months.
Yeah.
like the main hysteria.
Well, I suppose that's right, isn't it? The hysteria, like how long does hysteria last? It's, you know, it's not sustainable.
I feel like the first 6 months was like the actual sort of like hysteria of the witch trials, and the rest was just kind of like just trying to clean up the mess.
Honestly, like, oh, okay, now
the morning after a party,
we've got to see this through now, like the consequences of their actions. Of the party the night before.
And people are like hungover and thinking, what did I do?
What did I do last night? Was a girl on the floor? Like, what was going on? Yeah. Now, have you been to Salem?
No.
It's
definitely a wish list destination.
Definitely on the list. It'd be so interesting to see. I imagine, what was the name of the town now? Danvers. I imagine they'd have plaques and, you know, tourist attractions now, I suppose.
Yeah.
That'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
If you have been to Salem, Massachusetts, you should let us know.
Yeah.
If you've been to Danvers, let us know. What is it like? I'm curious now. I love standing in places that are so old.
I think a lot of the what they call their witch houses. They're not witch houses, but a lot of the people in this story, some of their houses still exist.
Wow. Rebecca's, I've forgotten.
Rebecca Nurse.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Rebecca
her house
Nurse.
is a museum.
Yes.
Yeah,
fascinating.
Yeah. And I think it was Judge Sewell, Magistrate Sewell, the one that, you know, held the day every year.
Yes.
I think his house is still up as well. But that's actually in Salem town, I think.
Right. There you go. Oh, well, if you have photos, if you have videos, if you have stories,
Salem
please tell
stories.
us.
Send us your Salem stories.
Send us your Salem stories, yes. Well, if you want to send us any story ideas for this, for the next upcoming season, or any ideas of what you'd like, you can email hauntedfridgies@gmail.com, or just message us on any social media platform. I think my fridge is haunted. It's really fun when we get recommendations. We had a few this season. We had Chris Benoit was one of them. My own, actually from you, Olga was one of them from you. Like it's fun to get.
But Olga, I was like, this has been on my list for ages, but I think you can tell it.
I feel like she's
epic.
your energy. And she was.
She's so
good. Yes, go follow us everywhere. As I said before, if everyone on Instagram follows us on YouTube, we can do some really cool stuff. So I'm looking forward to more videos and content and ideas to play around with.
Did you have a couple of thank yous to chuck out there?
I did. So actually, earlier in the season, we talked about tips, and people sent us a few people sent us some tips. So I'd like to shout out Hannah Deenick, and Amy Jeffries, who's Amy is one of my good friends from Ballarat. She's in the bagel gang now. I put a bagel emoji at the end of the YouTube if you reach the end. Amy has been like a really big supporter, much like a lot of people have been for us, which is wonderful. So thank you, Hannah, and thank you, Amy. It was very, very nice for you to send us some tips. I think I have to work out something new. I'm pretty sure that Linktree isn't doing it anymore, so don't go to Linktree or go to our Linktree, have a look around. But the more followers we can get on YouTube, that's really where it's at. So we'll really want to, I don't know, maybe we'll have more camera angles next season. Who knows? Yes. Play around. I've had so much fun yapping with you this season.
Thank you. So have I.
I can't believe we've
come back again.
Yeah, I think I will. I think I have to. I'm in the walls now.
Yeah, it's true.
I love it. And I love doing this with you. So thank you so much for all your hard work. I'm sure everyone else will say thank you as well. The stories have been really fun. I can't wait to do more.
Shall we wrap it up?
I think so, Gemma. Well, everyone, thank you so much again. Thanks for listening to this season. Go watch on YouTube if you haven't. That would be awesome. Until next time, Gemma.
Be creepy.
But don't be a creep. Bye. I administered. Hello, I'm present today. Hello.
Sorry, were you going to finish a sentence?
No. No, I wasn't going to finish the sentence.